Hey guys, me. This is part 2 of the video. I'm gonna take off my tie because, yeah, who cares? It's the end of the day, so why not? Yeah, so this is the second part. If you haven't seen the first part, the link is just here. In the first video, I talked about how to break up with someone. Now I'm gonna talk about how to get over the breakup, because that's the part that people are afraid of. Getting over a breakup is actually quite natural. We fear it because we fear that we're losing someone else or we're losing part of ourselves, but really there are a lot of stages, and people talk about like the stages of grieving, the 5 stages of grieving, but it's about allowing those stages of grieving to come to fruition. And this is what I did when I went through like my recent breakup as well. I went through all these stages and I let myself. That is the key. Like whatever happens, you just don't resist it. If you need time for yourself, you have time for yourself. Which is funny because when I first started, coaching this kind of stuff, a lot of people came to me and I've been through this and I know it and I teach it. But then when you go through it yourself, you have to remind yourself as a coach, because you coach other people, you have to remind yourself like, shit, okay, all right, Harvey, like, what do we do? What are the steps? All right, A, B, C, what would I do for someone else? And that's kind of the best thing about being a coach, is that you get to coach yourself, or you learn the most as well. So I want to give you the 5 stages of grieving, and there'll be some more links and stuff below as well. Really just you coming to terms with what's actually happening. And a lot of it is to do with you resisting the change or you fighting it. You just have to let that happen within yourself. So step 1 is denial and isolation. And what that means is that you're denying the situation for what it actually is. It's pretty simple. So little behavior patterns that you might do when you're coming to terms with the breakup is just not looking at things that create those emotions. So like blocking that person on Facebook, or moving away from things that remind you, getting rid of things that actually remind you of that person, because you kind of want to deny the fact that they existed in your mind. So you're removing any little things that might trigger you to think about that person. You're saying, hey, they never were in my life, or hey, I don't have these feelings. If that's the case, let yourself deny that. Let those emotions come up, and let those things where you're denying, you feel it. You say, hey, I'm denying this, or hey, this thing makes me feel upset because this reminded me of him. If you do that, you're gonna get through this stage a lot easier. The second stage is anger, where you start to be like, well, fuck you, like, why would you break up with me, or why would I break up with them, or the world, all that kind of stuff. Or you say, hey, next time, the person I'm gonna be with is gonna be like 10 times more fitter, or 10 times more like rich, or whatever. You start getting angry because you're doing things out of spite. Again, those emotions are normal. Don't judge them. Let them come as much as they can, because the more you let them come, the more it's kind of like sands coming through an hourglass. The more you let those sands go, the better the whole situation will be. The third one is bargaining, and this one I actually think is the funniest thing in the world, because bargaining is kind of like bargaining with the universe to make yourself feel better. It's not necessarily bargaining with the universe to make them come back, but it's to make yourself feel better. And this is where a lot of people make changes to themselves, like they dye their hair. Like I know a lot of girls who do like the post hair dye, where they're all of a sudden blonde when they were dark haired before. If they were like blonde, they're all of a sudden dye their hair black or red. Bargaining is a procedure where you're trying to see what can happen if you do a change, because you're trying to bargain with the universe to see if you can feel better. Again, let those things happen. If you want to change your hair, like fucking do it. It's a great reason for change. Like I know if I go through a change, I change my beard. I don't know, that's my hair. I just change my beard. So you'll know if I've gone through a change, if I've suddenly shaved my beard or I've changed it. I think once I had a Tony Stark beard. That was really funny. Or a chin strap, just depending on what periods of life I've gone through and what little things I want to manifest. The fourth part is depression, which this is probably the part that sometimes takes the longest, where you start to actually feel very down. And you know what, during this last breakup, I just let it happen as much as it could. In fact, I isolated myself from a lot of people. I did bare minimum. I still publish and edited videos like nothing was happening, because I wanted to save face, but I still let those emotions happen. In fact, I binge ate. It was really funny because I keep my calories, like I hold them, I count my calories because I'm losing weight and I work out a lot. So I was binge eating, like, you know, I'd eat like a whole pizza, but I would only eat a whole pizza after I've worked out and only within the calorie intake. So I thought that was really funny. It shows how much my standards have increased. But the depression phase is normal. You know, sometimes the second part of the depression phase is that we often think that it's bad to be depressed, or it's, you know, we're being mean to our friends or something like that. It's more of like a quiet desperation thing. Again, it's fine. Just tell your friends that you need some space and that it's okay to move past. And then the last part is acceptance, where you've accepted and you're ready to move on, but you've accepted that that person's no longer in your life, or you've accepted that they're no longer in the life at the same capacity. Because sometimes you move on and you can be friends. That's a whole different topic if you can be friends with an ex. But really, the acceptance part is the most crucial part, because that's the end of your grieving process. But yeah, so I would say right now I'm almost at the acceptance part. You know, just personally, the time of filming this video, probably the time it's released, I'll be at a different stage. But it's just about letting yourself feel those emotions. People think emotions are bad, and you know what, I'm sometimes like that, because people tell me it's like, you're human, you realize that, Harvey? I'm like, yeah, that's the problem. But, and I'm rambling here, but it's learning to accept your emotions is actually incredibly important. And if you don't do that, you're not doing yourself a service at all. In fact, you're shooting yourself in the foot, because there's going to be all these repressed things, and like repressed anger and repressed depression that'll come out and manifest itself in other ways. And some people I know who are incredibly driven are driven because of their emotions and because they're repressing it. And for those people, I'm actually incredibly afraid, because if they don't express their feelings soon, it's going to manifest 10 years down the track in a way that they won't expect. Anyway, this is part 2. If you really like this video, make sure to leave a like and also subscribe. If you are going through a breakup, make sure to write down in the thing below, like what stage you're at, or, you know, even your thoughts as well. Like, I love people's thoughts, because you're not alone. Like, I'm here as your coach and as your friend. Like, you're not alone. If you've been through something and you've actually realized, hey, I went through these 5 stages, not just with a breakup, like even if it was with, you know, you lost a loved one or you lost a job, like, we grieve over everything. It's absolutely crazy, and it feels bad, and it feels bad to feel bad. What I'm saying is, learn to love feeling bad. It's okay to feel bad. Feel good feeling bad, because that's actually what's good for you. Anyway, see you in the next video. Harvey out.